And we're stepping into a time where I think a lot of us are feeling it, even if people aren't necessarily talking about it on a large scale, which is that it's time for more female leadership. I feel it in my bones that this, call it queen energy, goddess energy, I'm not really sure what to call it, but the great aunties and all of our ancestors are pushing us all forward and telling us to raise our hand, stop being quiet. So I call that being a queen. You lean a little more towards goddess. Jessica clearly leans toward queen. So Jessica, do you have some pointers for girlfriends? What would it take for them to bring that queen energy into their lives?
Oh, that's such a beautiful question.
We're girlfriends of a certain age. In midlife, we got a lot to say. So let's get loud. We won't fade away, 'cause we're girlfriends of a certain age.
Hey, girlfriend.
Hey, girlfriend. Good to be with you in person.
It is so delightful to be with you in person. So today we are going there, ladies. We are talking about how to be a queen in your own life. And when I dreamt up this topic and I told you about it, you were so into it. And I was like, I think I know the perfect person. Her name is Jessica Hadari, and she's awesome. And I think you're going to love her. And Jessica said yes. So she's our guest today, and I want to give her a proper introduction before we go ahead and get started. So for nearly 20 years, Jessica Hadari's celebrated events have represented a new paradigm in women's leadership, centered around wisdom sharing and collaborative business building. She is the founder of the Women Light Leaders Network, Women of Color Wisdom Series, and the Feminine Frequency Global Festival, which spotlights the wisdom of women all over the world. Jessica has also deeply cherished community as a mother, hospice volunteer, and yoga teacher. And today she's going to be our expert on being a queen.
Woo!
And welcome, Jessica.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I have to say, there is that part of me that I think as women, we all have in us where it's like, we're so programmed not to brag and to be humble. So I just want to say, I didn't choose this topic for myself, but I'm so grateful that you chose it for me. I'm just, wow. I feel so uplifted.
Oh.
And that's amazing that you see me that way.
It's actually really wonderful to get that feedback because it is very much how I see you. I see you holding that space for others. So I know you in multiple contexts. I've known you for a long, long time. We've had all kinds of girlfriend adventures together and funny stories, but then also in a business context. I've been watching you grow and get serious as a business leader and supporting women in business and really holding that space. And now that you hold a group and you call the women in your group, and I'm one of them, you call us queens. And so there's a way that you are illuminating us as well. So I feel like a rising tide lifts all boats, we often say when we get together. And so that we see you that way and that you'd be willing to share what you know, share your wisdom, because we are calling you out. We're saying you're a queen to us. So tell us what you do and how you do it, because we're listening.
I'm getting a taste of my own medicine. I'm like, ooh, this is how it feels.
Beginner's mind is a very good thing sometimes. Yeah.
And to Flaché's point, I think Flachet has identified as a queen for a very long time. In fact, we reference it in our pod a lot. And I feel I'm a newcomer to the whole idea of embracing goddess queen energy. Truth be told, I grew up in Berkeley. Everything was quite crunchy in the 70s. So I almost had an aversion to that terminology. Just being sort of inundated with it, I was like, oh my gosh. But now to really come into it for my definition and for what I'm so excited for us to kind of hold up as what a true definition for anyone can mean for queen is something that I'm so excited for. Just so for any newbies who are listening with this terminology, we're getting into it and how we can identify with it for ourselves.
I love it. I love anything archetypical. And I can understand if you grew up in Berkeley, they'd be like, oh, that's what my mom's friends do.
Right.
Or, of course, like then as a teenager or,
exactly.
Like wanting to get as far away as possible.
Totally. The joke in Berkeley was to rebel, you could be a total straight-laced preppy.
Right? Yes.
Not that I went that route, but exactly.
I think wonderful.
I imagine that part of where this conversation will go today too is that being a queen happens on our own terms. And so for me, being a queen as a young child growing up, and I really did resonate with that archetype a lot. I think I was a princess for 6 or 7 years in a row. My family, they still make jokes about me. But that being a queen is what it means to me, or what it means to you, or what it means to Jessica and all of our girlfriends watching and listening right now. It is not one thing, and that it's evolving.
Yes.
As we are at this stage.
And I think we need it more than ever in our world. I really think we need it individually and as a collective. So I'm just calling that in too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, mate, let's get into a little bit more meaty stuff.
Yeah.
Jessica, how would you share about what you do and what you're bringing to the world?
Thank you. Yes. It's one thing that I will say that has been such a gift this last year. We're in 2023 having this conversation. And I think there was this way that I certainly did. And then also just in having conversations with other women, that we stepped into 2023. Okay, great. We're like out of the pandemic. We're coming fully out. And this is going to be this amazing year of just doing things and launching and birthing and all being out. And what I actually watched happen in my life, literally all the other queens in my queen circle, including you, Fleshay, is that we all just kind of found ourselves in massive, unexpected gestation. The universe was like, you will not be creating that. You will be going deeply inward and potentially birthing something new. I found myself and so many women I knew in unexpected chapter change. So one thing that I've really appreciated being surrounded by you, Fleshay, and the other queens is we got to have these experiences and these conversations, coming together in circle and having deep, meaningful conversations around our businesses. It was like, oh, there's this collective thing that's happening right now with 100% of the women in the community. And it helped me not feel so alone. Because there have been times in this 2023 where it's just, there have been a lot of, I think anytime I'm asked to really U-turn by the universe, there's an identity shift in that. There's kind of an identity, sometimes even kind of crisis in that. Oh, I thought I was moving in this direction or moving towards this label. And I'm actually having to erase a lot of that. And really, I love what Stacey Bowden, one of your previous episodes, calls following energy. It's, oh, right. I'm wanting to be in front of the energy and like make it happen, but I can't. I have to get behind it and really listen to what really wants to happen here. And I think for fiery, motivated women like us, that's really hard sometimes. So my long ass answer to your question is, I think that underneath everything I do is a thread of women coming together and being in circle. I just want to be in circle with women every day. And I am, thank Goddess, through my work. But because we are able to be part of each other's compass, I can lean in, I can listen to divine guidance, I can listen to my intuition, I can lean back on my experience and my knowledge, but to also be guided by a community or a circle of sisters that I really trust. Because they know me and they're watching me, they can say, oh, 6 months ago, Jessica, I was hearing you say this. And now I'm hearing you say this. To be able to track myself through time, to be able to be in a space where I am truly sitting with women who are holding highest intentions and prayers for me, and to feel that and to know I'm moving forward kind of with the strength of that container with me, I think is really powerful. So I'm probably being a little bit nebulous, but yes, women's work and women coming together in like utter support is totally my jam. And it's the space that I want to reside in and retire in, kind of be a nun, kind of want to be in a convent of sisterhood of amazing sisters like you, Jessica, like you, Fleshay. It's like all hang out all the time. And
yes.
That's what I'm trying to create, is like containers where women can come together every day if they want to and receive support.
And just for people who aren't familiar with your work, what are kind of the practical nut and bolt ways you do that?
Yes. Yeah. So for many years, I've been a business coach. And so while before I was a business coach, I did run women's circles and women's retreats. And then stepping into being a business coach, in order to work with me one-on-one, my clients also had to be part of my group program, my mastermind circles and my networking, at least were available to them. because it's powerful to work with someone one-on-one for sure. But I really believe that every woman should have a circle. And even if she is getting that in her more spiritual life or more of her social life, to have that in business, I think is really important. So I'm a business coach. And then for many years, I've run business mastermind circles. We call them sister mind circles, and networking for women. And I just have also always been passionate about creating communities. So creating the Feminine Frequency Festival, which is gathering women all over the world to share their wisdom, and creating larger networking events for women outside of my clientele. Women's weekends has just always been part of the plates that I spin, but typically centered around women and entrepreneurship, women who would identify as being healers or light leaders in the work they do through their businesses.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds so lovely.
And she's so good at it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you.
Otherwise, I wouldn't trot you out in front of all those girlfriends.
Oh,
Because
my goodness.
a big part of what we're doing is we want to elevate women's voices, and we want to elevate women. And oftentimes our voices are connected to our businesses. And so we really want to know what you do and why you do it, and why other girlfriends should know about that too.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the work that you're doing. I have to say, my favorite podcasts that I just naturally listen to are always typically, unless it's storytelling, like Radio Lab or something like that, are podcasts where there's always like 3 or 4 people having a conversation. I'm listening into that vicarious like geek out.
Totally.
So I love this format of the 2 of you and at least one other person. It just makes for such delicious listening, and we get to kind of be in a little mini circle together.
Yes.
Totally up my jam.
Because to your point, we all crave circles in lots of spheres of our life. And I don't think that women always get those carved out for ourselves. I can think of very clear pivotal moments. I know when I had my babies, I definitely knew I needed to have a mommy baby group just because it was like, what the F am I doing? Let's work this out together. And that was so intense. And then as our kiddos grew up, that circle just didn't feel like it remained as strong. And we moved through different spheres. There might be a circle at our schools, and there might be an old college or high school girlfriend group. But there's something I feel like in our community, as we've all become more individual, that we miss. And it makes me think of the beautiful book, The Red Tent, calling back to that real community support for each other that I do think we miss at times. And so it is so fun to create it in these new digital platforms and try to recreate some of that. But I think there's a huge longing for women, and especially as we're maturing, because there's the whole loneliness epidemic going on in our country. And I just think we need each other more than ever. So I think that there's so crucial for us all right now. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's so interesting. I've heard other people talk about the loneliness epidemic. That's just so interesting. So fascinating.
Well, and I think being able to hear girlfriends of a certain age talk about things that a lot of people are uncomfortable talking about, like menopause and our changing bodies and our changing everything in some cases. It makes a lot of people uncomfortable. Change is very hard in our culture. And so to be able to listen to a conversation, I think you've sent me many a podcast where it's like, girl, you got to hear this story.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I did need to hear that story. Thank you.
Totally.
Because it's a way to get someone caught up very quickly in a really easy format. So
yeah, it's sharing stories at the end of the day. And I don't think we always have the opportunity to do that enough. So that's true. That's so, so true. And Jessica, I love what you're saying about career, because I think the pandemic and this age in particular is definitely inspiring so many women to charter a different path than they were either on or that they thought they were on. And I very much can empathize with that feeling of wanting to be open to the unknown, but also being totally terrified by it. Yes. I want the roadmap. I want the blueprint. And then the other wiser part of me knows we know that we're improvising life a little at a time. So That is such a bold thing for you to even say, and a hard one for, I think, a lot of us to accept. We like stability. We like knowing what the hoo-ha is going to happen next.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're
Yeah.
stepping into a time where I think a lot of us are feeling it, even if people aren't necessarily talking about it on a large scale, which is that it's time for more female leadership. I feel it in my bones that this, call it queen energy, goddess energy, I'm not really sure what to call it, but the great aunties and all of our ancestors are pushing us all forward and telling us to raise our hand, stop being quiet. So I call that being a queen. You lean a little more towards goddess. Jessica clearly leans toward queen. So Jessica, do you have some pointers for girlfriends? What would it take for them to bring that queen energy into their lives?
Oh, that's such a beautiful question. I remember something, this is maybe more on a superficial level, but I do find myself taking this on. And this is going to maybe resonate with some women and not at all with others. But I remember watching Oprah when my son was little. One of the times that I would nurse him was right at 4 p.m. when Oprah was on. Back on when it was on TV at a regular time every day. And so I would sit down, nestle on the couch, nursing my baby and watch Oprah. And I don't remember who she was interviewing, but she was talking about using her fine china every day. She's like, why do we do that?
Yes.
Like, why do we sequester our most precious things away? Why not treat yourself?
Yes.
Beyond business or whatever I'm creating, I really having sanctuary and beautiful fabrics and knowing that this beautiful thing is displayed over here and my workstation is even before our time together today, I just took some time to just kind of tidy and smooth and vacuum. And I'm not really a Martha Stewart. I love a beautiful place, but I'm not constantly cleaning and tidying. But I think there is something about what are the ways, whether it's just having a really nice tea or it doesn't have to be expensive. So this isn't about how much money you have or having fancy things, but what are the ways that we can treat ourselves royalty? So for example, anytime I'm stepping into leadership or I'm going to be facilitating or leading something or teaching a workshop or leading a circle, or even before coming onto the show, I always in the morning take the time to anoint my feet. And it's just what yummy oils can I put together? I have a couple different formulas that just smell ridiculous and amazing to me. And to just anoint my feet and to know that the oils are kind of doing their work, put my cute little socks on that have flowers on them. What are the ways that I can treat myself royalty that I just don't really take any time and don't necessarily have to involve going shopping? I think that's really been an important piece of my life through times where I really didn't have a lot of money. Back in my 30s, I was sick for about 12 years and debilitating illness for maybe a good 6 or 7 of those years, which did impact my ability to work. So there were times where money was very, very scarce. And to even then, I'm going to do what Oprah told me to do and to just weave beauty and self-care and self-nourishment into my life on a daily basis.
I love that.
Yeah, it's so important. And that's something a lot of us can do. I remember I went through this phase of life where I was getting lots of candles. Everyone knew Flachet loves candles and I would get them and I wouldn't use them. I was being stingy. And then one day, I watched that same episode and it made an impact on me. The look on your face, it looked like you saw it too.
Yep.
So I love that. And so I started burning them and I remember, oh, right. What am I saving these for? Right. I am to be celebrated. I get to enjoy one of my favorite things, a nice scented candle. Yes.
Yes, that whole idea that we'll save the special stuff for later. There can even be a relationship with that makes you feel you're worthy of restraint or holding back. And I think that the longer I live, and especially something in the pandemic really shifted that, where it's honey, it is now or possibly never. Let's eat on those beautiful plates. Let's go do the thing. that we sometimes talk about doing in retirement. And also, Jessica, like you're saying, it doesn't have to necessarily involve money. It could also be, I really want to take up meditation and just sit for a while. But whatever it is that's honoring ourselves and really taking the time to do it. And what's fun too is I noticed I was giggling at my little side of my bed because my husband has a magazine and his iPad. And I looked over at my side and I have chapstick, foot lotion, hand lotion. Every night to prepare to go to bed, I go through all my little self-care steps, and it feels so good. It's such a small gesture of taking care of ourselves and it feels so good. Yeah.
I love that. I remember talking to a girlfriend about 10 years ago. Her name was Rowena. And she said, Jessica, my pleasure is my greatest rebellion against the patriarchy. And I loved that. It was just, goosebumps. Because I think that we sometimes as women withhold pleasure from ourselves. And it might be just be taught like, oh, you get the reward after you create the greatness or whatever, kind of maybe dangle it like a carrot instead of just, well, what if you like preload the pleasure and the deliciousness and like, source yourself from that place as you move forward and take steps. But I love that. I love that so much. Pleasure is such a gateway to not the patriarchy.
It is. You know, I believe that.
100%. 100%. And that men should also be doing this.
Yes.
That non-binary people, anyone who wants to do this kind of radical self-care should, and I think we'll all feel better for it. But yeah, I do think that there's some roots in our puritanical start to our country. But I find it very rebellious and feminine and all the good things. Yeah.
You said something that felt like a thread in the fabric that you just weaved for us in front of us that I want to pull on a little bit. And that was how you got ready to meet with us and be on our show today, how you tidied, there's something about slowing down and looking around. What could I do? What do I want to do to help me feel full and buoyed up? And I think there's something about that too. I've been getting this a lot in my meditations, this idea of really slowing down, that there's a lot of, that's almost a different dimension, is to walk very slowly and even spend that time preparing oneself. I love this ritual of anointing your own feet. I mean, I got chills when you said that. So there's this way, I see that you're even starting your day with that.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Yes. Yeah. And I think I can feel some girlfriends, that's a good idea. I could do that. That feels accessible. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, good. Yes, I'm so happy that landed. The other thing that was coming through that kind of ties in terms of how do you weave that kind of queenliness or living as a queen. I don't remember your exact question, but how do you weave it into your life? And I think my first, because I also totally, as a little girl, identified as a princess. And even into my 20s, it was just like, there was kind of this more princessly kind of royal archetype that I really enjoyed kind of connecting to. But I think when I first really resonated with the queen archetype, having nothing to do with age, right? Having nothing to do with the kind of age progression of princess into queen. But when I first resonated with the archetype of queen, it was like this recognition that queens that are renowned through history they are not lone wolves. They have a whole council. They're very good at sitting and either delegating, but also receiving information and essentially being like in a circle. And I found that really intriguing. And so I think whether you resonate with the word queen or not, I think there is a wish that I have for women, especially in business, to let go of the lone wolf archetype.
Yes.
Because men have actually been collaborating and partnering for thousands of years. And I think what I watch is that, at least in the women that I connect with, there's this deep desire for collaboration and partnership and cross promotion. And the women who are able to really unlock that see massive growth in their businesses, because when we are connecting with one another, it's like Flashe is a doorway to dozens or hundreds or thousands of other people that might be interested in what I do. And I'm a doorway for people that might be interested in, Jessica, what you do. And we are all gateways for one another. And in business, to actually be able to weave communities together is such a powerful way to lift the glass ceilings on your business and just reach a wider audience, and therefore more clients, and therefore more income. And so I talk with women who want that. They want collaboration, they want partnership, but it also is the greatest linchpin in most women's businesses, because it stirs up so much shadow. There's just so much entanglement around beliefs around competition and asking for support, and even just being able to navigate conversations of partnership. That is just, we as women have not really been taught how to have those conversations. So it's been really interesting to watch in this kind of driving with the brakes on in the greater women's community of entrepreneurship, of women like, I want to network, I want to connect, I know I need to, but then kind of holding themselves back from collaboration, from partnership, because there's just still so much programming around competition and not wanting to, or the opposite of that, not wanting to step on people's toes. And
what would you say? What would you say to somebody who is struggling with that step, that kind of block? Because I can so relate to that. And it's interesting. I was just on a hike with a group of women yesterday, and all of us were talking about how busy and overscheduled we are, and we're working mothers. And it feels like busyness can become its own prison for us, really.
Totally.
So what would you say to someone who feels, I want that, I yearn for that, but when the shadow or the resistance comes up, what little steps someone might be able to do to just help them, give themselves permission?
Yeah, I feel like I want to unpack that a little bit, because my answer would have a lot of women be like, oh, but I don't have time for that.
Exactly.
So I'll hopefully speak to a couple different angles, and it will maybe make all sense. We're going to find out. Ask me questions if I'm not clear. So when women come to my networking gatherings, which are sometimes live, sometimes on Zoom, they basically come away with the contact information of maybe 15, 20 other women, at least. And so my invitation, especially if I'm working with them as a client, is why don't you make this a season of heart connection? And over the next 1 month, or maybe if you're tighter on time, 2 months, maybe even 3 months, why don't you reach out to each and every woman that you connected with? And over the next 3 months, take the time to have a little one-on-one little Zoom or phone call with each woman, with no attachment, with no agenda, just to be like, hey girl, I'd love to hear more deeply what you're creating. And I'd love to just see how we might weave together a play. I mean, number one, what I've seen when women actually take that on is magical things open up in their businesses. Just everything from outright just cross promotion to opportunities to speak, podcast opportunities. Even if you and I are not a perfect fit to collaborate at this time, you know of another chiropractor that you might want to connect me to, or I might know of another acupuncturist because I know you're looking, like I will know people that are the perfect fit for you. And so then this kind of beautiful fractal of connection starts to open up as well. But the resistance that comes up for most women is time. It's like, I really just don't have time for that. And it is interesting because I do watch women give themselves a lot of busy work in their business. I've watched women just waste 6 months, quote unquote, working on their website and posting all over the place on social media, which aren't bad things. Those are not having a beautiful website that you're proud of, being on social media, if that's where you want to be and that's where you get traction, great. But I watch women turn that into busy work, where sometimes working on your website doesn't actually lead to clients or money. And it is totally possible to have a 6-figure business or more without a website at all, potentially. So if you could take those moments where I'm trying to be busy because it's so uncomfortable to not give myself busy work right now, I'd rather a woman put that 30 minutes of energy on relationship building, reaching back out to women she met at last year's networking thing and be like, hey girl, it's been a while. Let's hop on the phone again. Or to take that busy work energy and also the energy that I see women kind of chasing shiny objects. We're really good at distracting ourselves sometimes. And so if we could just take that and put it into relationship building, I mean, really, really, I think that's the key to a lot of women breaking through to the next level in their businesses. I don't remember what question I was answering. Oh my goodness.
No, totally. You answered it and 10 other questions I was going to ask. It was lovely.
Oh, no, I think that's really clear. And I know that will impact so many women to get to hear that. I know a lot of women our age are playing with the idea of side hustle. Do I quit my job and start my own? Or do I do it while I still have a job? But I think there's something that stops us and is terrifying. The real go-getters jump out and go and get it. But most women I see are very cautious generally. And so I love how you bring this relational piece that, girl, stop being a lone wolf. The time for that is over. I don't know if you know the Hopi prophecy, but that's one of the expressions. And at the time for the lone wolf is over. And I actually have that printed.
Oh, I love
my desk to remind myself all the damn time, girl, you're not here alone. You've got ancestors, you've got besties, you've got a network. Like I've got a lot of people got my back. And to be reminded of that all the time is really powerful, especially on those days where I don't feel super confident or I am tired or I am dragging or I'm like, am I pivoting again? I think I am. And I actually am. But this all happened. It's all part of the process. So you speaking about it that way as a business coach, a bona fide business coach, gives all of us permission and the reminder that it's all part of the process.
And as a communication coach, I'll see a lot of women when it's coming time to ask for a promotion or setting off on your own business. A lot of us struggle with the idea of, I'm not ready yet. I have to get this into place. I have to get that into place. And so I think when we think in that very linear fashion, well, I need the website and I need the social media platforms before I can even go and talk to this person. And I'm guilty of thinking that way. And research even shows us that women overqualify themselves before they ask for anything, where oftentimes men, because they are more in that kind of circle of trust, ask before they're even qualified. Oh yeah, I can do that. Oh yeah, you want to promote me to that position? Well, I don't really know it, but I'll figure it out as I go along.
And they get it.
And they get it. Where women who are probably overly qualified are like, oh, I still have to, do these last few steps. And that can really, really hold us back from what you're pointing out is the key thing, which is the connection. Because even though I fall for those shiny objects, the next new tech thing, or look at my new pretty website, but really at the end of the day, who am I getting the calls from? People who I've had a heart connection with.
Yeah, I love that. So there's something about queenliness that I have to say about you, Jessica, and that is that you have adorned yourself as a queen. You physically embody queenness. I don't know if you're wearing like a kimono. Like, what is this? For the girlfriends who are listening and not watching us on YouTube, Jessica just looks like just a vision, like she just came out of a bubble from the sky to show us how it's done. So you look beautiful. You look like a queen. You look like you are a leader in your life and in your business and in your community. And I just really want to call you out for that. You look amazing.
Oh, thank you. I had these fancy earrings on as well, but I realized they may be hitting against the
earbuds.
They're like these big honking earrings. So thank you. That's so wonderful to hear because I think I don't really do my hair or wear makeup on a daily basis. I love doing my hair and I love doing my makeup and I have false eyelashes and everything. I really love going all out, but it's very rare that I actually take the time to do that. So thank you. I know that that's not necessarily makeup and big hair isn't necessarily the epitome of being a queen, but it really, I think we all have found ways, especially during the pandemic through Zoom, to very quickly look presentable. The front of my hair looks great. And I'm basically just wearing yoga pants and an athletic bra. And then I've just thrown this kimono thing that I got for whatever, $30 at Marshall's. Like,
Perfect.
But it just works so well. Yeah. Well, yes, tricks of the trade. And this is just how I experience you. For me, it really brings home that it's not just talk, that you're speaking about, we're all queen. Let's just do the thing. But there's something more about it too. I can look to you and see like, this is Jessica's version of queen. And I've got my version. And we all have our own thing. And to me, queen really comes back to leadership. Providing leadership for ourselves and then in our concentric circles, our families, our communities, all the things that we do, our businesses, and the jobs we hold and all that good stuff. So it's really wonderful to get together with you and have this conversation. And I really appreciate you being so open and sharing a lot of wisdom that's very inspiring. I feel super jazzed up and inspired. And I'm like, I got a bunch of people I need to call back.
I'm so glad.
Definitely.
That's so wonderful.
Yes.
Lachey, I will just say, I've known you for years and you always carry with you just such a grounded presence and a mindfulness and are such a warm and easy and diplomatic communicator too. So I just wanted to say those are some queenly attributes that I love about you, have witnessed in you over the years. And I also just sometimes we'll have these little geek out voice memos back and forth that I
love those.
Totally treasure. Yeah. And I would say any friend of Lachey is a friend of mine, Jessica. So it's wonderful to get to know Slice here and to hear a little bit about your world. And just also, Lachey was saying, we each have our little queenly signature, and to just be able to be in your space today is just so refreshing.
Exactly. If it's your lip balm on your bedstand or your kimono, whatever it is, you can rock it. And I also want to thank you for just reminding us all that the lone wolf archetype is not working. I don't think it ever did. And that the circle is really the power behind a queen. And let's not even say behind, with the queen. Yes. So that's just a great reminder for all of us. Who is our circle and how do we nurture that and keep that going? Because that is going to be the life force for us as well. So I love that so much. And that's what I'm really, my golden takeaway. Well, Jessica, before we exit your queendom for this moment in time, could we play a short little game with you?
Yes, please.
Oh, lovely. Well, the way we love to end our episode whenever we have a lovely guest is to ask you the question that's very much related to our topic of our podcast, which is being a good girl in recovery, being a people pleaser who now is being more of someone who pleases themselves, a very queen-like thing to do, I would say. So what would you say, Jessica, at this point in your life, are you no longer giving a shit about? That used to be something that perhaps you cared or even worried about more.
That's so interesting. What a great question. I think with each decade, there comes a new understanding in me that the lifestyle I have now no longer accommodates the body I had then. So I remember stepping into my 30s and being heavier, let's say more goddess than my 20s, and having a conversation with my girlfriend. Yeah, I think the body type that I have in my mind that I keep wanting to be is actually not aligned with my lifestyle now. And I feel as I've stepped into my 40s, now being in my mid 40s, I'm having that experience again where it's okay, I'm again about 10 pounds heavier even than I was then. And there's fluctuations and kind of coming to that same, the body I had in my 30s, I think is no longer in alignment with the lifestyle I have now.
Totally. Oh my gosh. And I am right on the precipice of 50 and our lovely Queen Lachey is there. And I am laughing because I am literally looking at some pants and my body's nope. Those were your 40-year-old pants, girlfriend. So it's ever shifting.
Yes.
It's ever shifting.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
Jessica, thank you for being here and sharing your wisdom and just sharing your ideas and these concepts of feminine leadership and being a queen in our lives. I am leaving this conversation giddy. I'm giddy with excitement.
Good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
you're so welcome. Such a pleasure. So beautiful what the two of you are creating here. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Jessica, if people want to reach out to you, we'll put some links in our show notes. But is there a simple way that you could tell people to find you if they want to get into your circle a bit more and into your energy sphere?
Oh, perfect. Yes. I mean, I think probably the easiest thing these days, and especially for women our age, tends to be on Facebook. I don't necessarily use it a lot, but I do check my little, Facebook Messenger, the little DM part of Facebook on a regular basis, mainly because that's the main app that I use to communicate with my partner with. So that's such an easy way to just search Jessica Hadari and reach out to me with any questions. And yeah.
Love it. Wonderful. Well, that's an invitation for girlfriends who want to perhaps go there. That sounds lovely.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. But thank you so much. It was wonderful. And we loved this girlfriend chat with you. So until next time, Jessica.
Thank you. Jessica and Fleshay. Blessings.
Bye. Thank you for hanging out with us today on Girlfriends of a Certain Age. This episode was produced by Jessica Neighbor at Impact Vocal Coaching and Fleshay Hesh at The Busy Mom.
This podcast jingle was written and performed by Jessica Neighbor. Do you have a girlfriend who needs to hear this message? Share this episode with her. She will love you forever.
If you enjoyed today's talk, join us in our private community on Substack at Girlfriends of a Certain Age.
You can help us reach even more girlfriends when you take 30 seconds to subscribe and rate our channel on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube so you never miss another episode.
Stay tuned for more episodes where we discuss more hot topics for all of you, our girlfriends living our best lives together.